fam? Welcome to another edition of God Humans. As you look behind me, I'm seeing a glimmer of bicycles. So I wonder where I am today. Today, we're at Barry Bike Works in the city of Atlanta with a wonderful couple we met not too long ago. They're doing some great things in the community, and I'm just looking forward to what they have to share about how God is using them in a great way. And so, Becky and Tim, how you guys doing today? Welcome to God Humans.
We're good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. The scene before this, I kind of was having some challenges, but we're working it out right now. So anyway, it's all good. So you guys doing well?
Yeah, it's doing really good. Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of God Humans. A few months back, I had the privilege of hanging out with some friends, and we walked the trail here. I guess it's the Atlanta Beltline. And as we were walking, I was like, "Hey, that's a cool place. What is that?" And then a friend of mine said, "Well, that's our next door neighbors. Their bike place." I was like, "What?" They said, "Yeah, and they're doing some great things." I said, "Man, I need to talk to them." So fast forward, I was able to reach out to you guys, and these guys are super busy. I mean, they have so many things going on. I'm going to take some B-roll so you can kind of see what's going on in the background here. But you can see a little bit in the background. You see some work benches and so forth. Well, anyway, I'm going to let them share the story about what they're doing, but they're doing some great things. So, I love this place here. This place is so cool. How did you guys get started in this? And by the way, what do you do? What is Barron Bike Works?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're a skills development youth organization for youth, and
Okay.
our mission is to put the right tools in the hands of kids, enabling them to build productive lives and move into adulthood successfully. About 12 years ago, Tim and I had moved into a dare park, Southwest Atlanta, and had no intentions of starting anything. We just bought a cheap house that we could afford in the city, and
Cheap house. That's
Yeah.
not
Well, it was in 2009.
I
I walked outside of the front porch. There's a little girl pacing back and forth in front of the house. I asked if she needed some help with something. She said she needed help with her homework. So
She needed some glue for
some
the
glue,
school
yeah, glue for a
project,
school
yeah.
project. Yep, that's right.
What?
And so we helped her with the project and became friends. And one day she showed up at the house without her bike. We asked what had happened. She said that her tubes and tires were going through. They couldn't afford to fix it, therefore she had no bike. So we made an offer if she would do some chores in the front yard, porch, driveway, that sort of thing. We'd help her get the money and then help her get the parts to fix her bike. So she agreed. After a month, begrudgingly worked with a fifth grader.
She's 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she decided she had done enough. We decided we had done enough, so we were just like, let's get the parts. And it was about $10 more to get a new bike. So we got a bike, gave it to her. She took off, over the moon excited. We high-fived, went inside. 10, 15 minutes later, there's a knock at our door, and it's Brittany, and she has 2 friends with her, and they want bikes too. So that's how it all
Wow,
unraveled.
15 minutes later.
Yeah, it was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
quick.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Becky was at a church at the time up in Gwinnett and had mentioned it to her volunteers, and they all said that their kids had grown and they had bikes in their basements and garages, and they didn't want to throw them away, didn't want to sell them. So Becky couldn't go to work without getting a bike shoved in her car.
There were so few kids in our neighborhood that had bikes, and it's a real bikeable neighborhood. And of course, we grew up on bikes and just thought, "Gosh, you gotta have a bike when you're a kid." You
Yeah.
know? So that was the idea. We thought, "Gosh, we can get bikes that people have, their kids have outgrown. Maybe we could just, get more kids on bikes." And so we wanted there to be a trade. We wanted there to be an exchange. That was real important to us. So kids would pick up 5 bags of trash with us. That was like, there was a lot of litter in the neighborhood at the time. So they could easily pick up about 5 bags of trash in an hour tops with us. And we got to know them in the process. And then if they did that, they'd earn a bike. And so
Wow.
it just started from there.
About 20 minutes, kid would get a bike, and as soon as they get a bike, they would take off, and they would bring friends back with them. So it was happening to us. We were not trying to make anything happen.
But it was just really sweet, just a sense of community was developing because of it. And we were just connecting people. And when you get to know someone, when you know someone's name, everything changes. You look at them differently. And so,
And they look at you
That's-
different.
yeah. And so
And
that
we
was
know
just,
each other now. So it's
Yeah.
like that in the beginning. We wanted everybody to know each other, And that helped us, we were working with a lot of the young kids, and then there was a lot of older kids, a lot of kids who were gangs and stuff like that in the community. So knowing their younger siblings allowed us to get to know them, and then we started working with neighbors to create jobs and stuff like that to get money in their pockets. And then that helped them out.
Yeah.
So kids are in tough situations, and just a little bit of coin in their pocket made all the difference in the world and really helped us develop a relationship with hundreds of kids.
Wow. So it's way more than about the bike, right?
Yeah, it was never really about the bike.
Yeah.
The bike was just a means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they started showing up at our house all the time, all day.
You cannot
all
just
night.
give a kid a bike because you get flat tires, you get loose
Yeah.
chains, and so they need repairs. And so we'd have 15 kids in the driveway on a Saturday fixing their bikes.
Wow.
And so we found out of like self-preservation, Tim started teaching kids how to fix them. Like, you got to know how to change your own, you change your own tire, patch your own tube. But we found the kids liked working on the bikes too, and were really handy, could figure it out, and that was creating this sense of responsibility and just taking care of your own things, and empowerment was coming out of that. So it just started to build from there.
So we got overwhelmed at our house, bikes everywhere, kids everywhere, knocks on our door all day and late into the night. You could be in bed at 11 o'clock at night and somebody's knocking your door telling you they have a flat tire.
What?
Like, I'm in bed, come back tomorrow.
Deeply connected.
Yeah, so we had to teach others boundaries. We had to put a note on our door that said, knock 3 times, wait 1 minute, and leave.
Go play.
Go play. Yeah, that's what it said. Which other neighbors began to adopt as well. So,
Yeah.
but it was just an easy way for them to, if we were to come home, like, why are you still here? Like, did you knock? Yes. Did you wait 1 minute? Well, I've been here for a half hour. But you can't be here for a half hour. You have to go play.
They're determined.
Yeah, and you have to come back. So, anyways, we got overrun in our house. We needed a place to move everything, and the man that owned this building mentioned he had a basement that he would rent to us. Pretty inexpensive, I guess.
How long ago was this?
14 years, 12 years ago.
2010.
2010, yeah.
Okay.
So we rented that, fixed it up, built it out, made it look like something. It was supposed to be for storage, but then the kids started coming here, and then that was good. So we kind of shut everything down at our home and started doing everything up here, created the hours for the shop to be open. And then really that was the beginning of how we developed the program we have today. It was a lot of trial and error over a decade of what do kids respond to well, what do they like doing, and then how do you create a system that sets them up for success versus just overwhelming them. And then with our entire system now, it's like there has to be an exchange. You have dignity and worth, so we need to make sure that's protected. So there's a lot you may not know how to do, but we'll teach you that, and we'll teach you as much as you want to absorb. So, but it's 50-50. Like, we're not dragging anybody. So if you want to learn, we'll give you everything you got. But if you don't, then you can go play.
Wow.
So
That's awesome, man. I love the story behind that. I mean, it's fascinating how you guys have no really background in building bikes. I guess. I mean, grew up for cycling, but it's just fascinating to me to hear from one child that had a need, and you guys saw that need and were sensitive enough to kind of meet that need, and then how God kind of opened the door to where you are today. I mean, that's fascinating to me. That's such a blessing.
yeah, and the bike wasn't really the need. The bike, like, Brittany needed community and like friends, and like she needs that.
Yeah.
We're still, she's still a friend today. So it's the bike is just how the relationship started. It's all.
And I think also, like, both Tim and I, like, in our teen and young adult years, had, like, really important adults in our lives, beyond our parents, that were just really formative and important in our journey. So I think we sensed that of, like, gosh, it's just kids need other adults that are connected in their lives that can be positive role models and influence, and once those friendships are the basis of deeper life conversations. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to, you know, as believers, we always want to be agents of sharing the gospel with the community or our friends and that sort of thing. But it's hard to do that if you don't have a relationship.
Yeah.
So for us, it was, gosh, this is like, you know, first level. That's where we have to start, and then pray, God, open the doors for, you know, us to be agents of like helping address the real, you know, the things we all wrestle with, the deeper issues.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that's great. So what's your program like? You know, when the kids come here, what's the age range? What, 8 to what?
It's 6 to 17. We have
6 to
several
17.
programs. So
Okay.
we have a drop-in program, which is kind of the bread and butter. That's the one everybody comes through.
So what's the drop-in? Which drop-in?
So drop-in is after school.
After school.
The
Okay.
after school program from 4 to 6:30, Monday through Thursday. So where kids are allowed to come in. Everybody starts in the same place, learning to build individual pieces of a bicycle. Once you master that, you move into a basic kids coaster brake bike. Pretty basic. And then you master that, you go to level 2, which you start getting into some brakes. Level 3, you get into shifting, and then it gets just more and more complicated from there.
And
So it's all tiered, so it's an easy progression. So you learn to put a bike together, and then when you get to level 2, you're just learning that you already know the bike, so you're putting the king brakes on that bike. And then once you learn that, to level 3, you're putting on the shifting. So you're just building upon the knowledge they already have.
And every hour they work in the shop, they earn a point.
Okay.
And we keep track of those good old-fashioned star charts on the wall, and those points are their currency in the bike shop. So they can earn enough. They can buy a bike from the shop, and then they can use the stars to keep their bikes in working order. So it's this little micro economy, just all of, you know, a kid's world of a bike shop based on work, connecting work with reward, and then we just find that learning a new skill is just such a great learning experience. It builds on so many things. It just creates self-confidence of, hey, I'm good at something, I can learn something, and that creates you know, agency, thinking, if I can do this, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And then the bike shop is just this great community place where we're celebrating bikes and just adults that care about kids and want to get to know them and make them feel welcome and part of, you know, the community that exists here. And that becomes the foundation of inviting them into other programs. We have a job training program for teens and young adults now. We have a mountain biking team, places for deeper connection.
So we have a job training program which helps kids either in a summer internship. It's 8 weeks where kids come in and learn how to work, learn how to do the soft skills, show up on time, smile, work hard, clock in on time. You know, just like some basics. Yeah, and then we do financial literacy. You know, how to open a bank account, how to manage your money, basic budgeting. Save more, spend less, you know, that stuff. So some basics around those things, and we go through a whole character development curriculum to help them think through themselves, like how do you have character and integrity in what you do, you know, because that's your currency in life. You can only burn so many bridges, and then hopefully you have stronger relationships at the end of it. A big part of what we do is the relationships. You know, everybody is a part of several different communities. A lot of people are reluctant to enter into new communities, but with the cycling, the mountain biking, and the job training, those are all new communities where you get to interact with new people you never met. You wouldn't have interacted with them otherwise. Especially like with our mountain biking team. It's just people from across the spectrum that are now riding as a team. With the goal of, you know, trying to succeed collectively through the Georgia Cycling Association. So everybody's part in that matters, and you get a whole new kind of community that happens here through the mountain biking, through job training, through the Skills for Life, and then we do Thursday night suppers throughout the year, and that's really just kind of the work day's over, and now we can kind of hang out with parents and kids and not, you know, talk to them about how they're doing at work, but it's like, okay, what do you do after work? Let's get to know you on a little bit deeper level.
Well, that's sweet. So you guys have been doing this for a while. So what's been like your biggest challenge in terms of just dealing with some of the young people? What's that challenge or challenges?
The biggest challenge is there are no challenges. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And yeah, oftentimes we're like, pinch me, like. No, there's a lot. There's just a lot. There's no easy solutions to complicated problems, and the thing that's tough is politicians and other people that are, that look at problems in society. They say things like it's easy, and if it's one thing or it's this thing, and then everything's fixed. It's just not true. Everybody that's alive has a life that is messy to some degree, and needs work.
Yeah.
And then if you have some things inside your family that just aren't working well, then that compounds things, or if a kid has parents in his life that just aren't active or involved, and that kid's running the streets, like that's a whole other dynamic. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges is sometimes we're trying to do everything we can do to help somebody that wants to help themselves, but sometimes when you can't get the support that a kid needs from their house, that gets very difficult.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we have to wait for a kid to age up to 18 to where we can then take over and say, well, not take over, but go with them now and say, okay, here's all the things we have to do. And sometimes you have to wait, you wait 2, 3, 4 years for that kid to turn 18 so that you can then help them get a social security card, help them get a driver's license, help them, get their birth certificate, like all the things that you would need to get just so you could go and get a job.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's fascinating. I think, when you said that, I was just thinking about it. Actually, my wife and I were talking about that on the way over here. We all families have dysfunction, but, for us, we have resources. We have a church family, or, we can go get mental health or get counseling and so forth. But these kids are growing up sometimes in environments that are really tough, right? They don't have the resources. So it's wonderful that you guys are, reaching out and helping them to grow and prosper and become, positive citizens for the community. Yeah. So
but there's a lot of different resources too. So I don't want to just have a generic sense of resources. There's like 3 types of poverty: are spiritual, relational, and material. And so when you don't have resources, like the resource may just be like, I don't have a healthy environment of friends. So sometimes I think when we say resources, it turns into a material thing.
Yeah.
And material is, sure, it's a part of it, but I think it's a small part. Because if you develop skills, people are happy to hand you money. And the more skills you have, the better you are at that, the more people, anybody in the world is going to be happy to hand you a lot more money. So your skills is your currency. There's opportunities around you, me, everybody, every single day. But if you do not have a skill to capitalize on that, you feel like there's something missing, or there's no access for that opportunity. And there's not, because you don't have the skill. You can have a podcast now because you have that skill of what you did before that got you to this point where you can say, I want to do a podcast. But if you haven't developed all those, you can be a podcaster every single day of your life. But you lack the skill to pull it off.
Yeah.
That's where we're all at in life. And we're only limited by the time when we say, okay, I'm not developing anymore. I'm kind of comfortable where I'm at. I don't want to do any more skill building in my life. Therefore, your opportunities begin to dry up because things move on and you're where you were.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
So we give kids the opportunity to develop skills, and we'll help them develop them as far as we can, and then if we can't do any more, we will put you in contact with somebody that can help take you even further.
Right. Yeah.
But it's up to you to do that. I got my own issues. We all do, right?
And then you develop that community, like you said, like those relationships that can help. And sometimes when you have the humility to ask for help, that's a piece of it. We all need that of like, hey, I don't know how to do this, or we've had like young men get ready to buy a new car, their first car, and that's a big moment.
Yeah.
That's a big process, and having someone you trust that can walk you through that is helpful.
Yeah.
So those things go hand in hand.
So you have that healthy relationship.
And you're making so many of those things in those young adult years. You know, so
Yeah.
many of those decisions and transitions. It's just a critical time to start off adulthood. You
Yeah.
know, hopefully I'm right,
Yeah.
but
That's
but,
awesome.
yeah.
So, what are some of your success stories? If you'd like to share, because I'm itching to hear about some of the, how
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
have been affected. So,
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we have success stories. I don't like using that language because we're all are people succeeding, you know? Because you never really arrive in life,
true.
and you could be great today and gone tomorrow, right? That's all of us.
That's true.
But we have kids that have come through the program and have embraced the things that we taught and are succeeding in life. Yes, I think that even the two that were just here before when you got here, Warren's been here since he was 12.
Oh wow.
He came up and was just teaching volunteers. He was the first one who made it through all of our curriculum. We had a mechanic end up leaving, and we had a vacancy. He had been working really hard downstairs and learning a ton. He had just graduated high school. He just came in with his gown on and had graduated, and that mechanic transitioned out, and we were like, we need to hire somebody else. And it's like, might as well give him a shot. He's put in the work over all these years, and he's responsible. He shows up on time. He can smile. He works hard. He has a good
full-time team member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a good work ethic. Just all the things you wanted to see in a team member. So it was like, let's offer him the job, and then he's slept on it. And I think he was just wrestling like, could he do it? And convinced Stacy he wants to give it a shot. He's been full-time ever since then.
2 years.
2 years,
Wow.
full-time, salaried employee, got vacation time, he makes decent money for a kid who's graduated high school. And now he's running and working with all the youth in the program as the program mechanic. And then he has Ray, who's with him, his apprentice,
Yeah.
and he's learning the ropes. And we had another shop, they were both in that shop at the same time. So Ray was a couple years younger than him. So now they're back again. They're first time they're together, they're 12 and 10. And now they're back working together again
That's crazy.
at
Wow.
20 and 18. Yeah.
We've
So
got
it's
another
awesome.
young man years ago got involved as a teenager, and he's now a mechanic with MARTA. He's a bus mechanic. And he popped in last year. Was like, he's making it look from bikes to buses. But the program just was an exposure opportunity for him. Realized he loved mechanics and working with his hands, and got an opportunity to apply for the MARTA training program and stepped into that.
That's awesome.
And then we have, kids we've been connected with, just seeing kids even just stay out of trouble, just avoid kind of the negative influences that just exist, and in our city. And so seeing kids get into college.
So because they're finishing college, it's just there's a mix. And, we can't take credit. It's not like because we were here, all these kids did this. We're just hoping that God would use us in a way while they're here that hopefully their time with us was impactful.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't like saying, well, these are our success stories. Like these are kids that are succeeding that came through here. Whether we can take credit for that or not, I just don't like grabbing on to. We're supposed to as a nonprofit organization, but they're but we still mean something to them, so we played a part in it.
Yeah. Well, you're open to doing this, right? I mean, you could have said, I don't want to do this, but you did it, right? And so, based on your obedience and desire to want to make a difference, you're doing that. So, so that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So what's currently on your plate now? What's next for you guys?
So
we bought this. Talking about the space here, Tim mentioned we started in the basement next door, renting out a 900 square foot basement. This was an automotive shop, and about 5 years ago, we had the opportunity to purchase it. I mean, the Lord's hand. The belt line is right outside our doorstep. It was under construction, and the owners of the automotive shop that was here decided to sell and offered it to us first. And so in 2018, we raised about $2.5 million to purchase the property and renovate this building we're in now. It's about a 6,000 square foot workshop. And so that was a huge moment for us. We've been in here about 18 months, almost 2 years now.
Yeah, October's 2 years. So the big goal right now is to expand our frameworks, our job training program. That's like the big push. Mountain biking now is extremely successful, and that's probably going to double again next year. So we're trying to wrestle with like how are we going to. Right now we have about 13, 14 kids on the team, so that'll probably double next year at least. So
Wow.
how are we going to manage all of that, all those kids and new programs, and then we have the building next door, which will probably turn into a training center for the frameworks. And then I don't know if I mentioned a bit, open our retail right down here,
Yeah, we just
which will
got.
all be a pathway for
Wow.
kids to come through the drop-in, work their way through, get in the frameworks, get trained, head down to retail. That's their path, or stay up here, learn the technical side of things, and start cycling. Hopefully, a handful of kids out every 6 months
Yeah.
to other bike shops or other things where they would use their hands, or maybe it's just a job for now, and they'll go to school or technical school or something, and then figure out where they end up. And hopefully, they get the foundation with all the things that you learn on the bicycle, the bearings and the simple machines that turn into one complex machine, and they can see how this all works together. So if they have an engineering or any sort of background, that could play well for their lives,
We
or
see,
just
like,
problem solving, learning to come into a problem. I don't know what the problem is, but I diagnose it and now I figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I was gonna say, we just see that there's just a gap of getting teenagers ready to transition to adulthood. In the nonprofit world, they call them opportunity youth. Those teenagers that aren't in school and aren't working, and just the cost of society of that is pretty significant when a teenager doesn't make that transition to the workforce or to further schooling. And also just as individuals, like something's breaking down there. And helping teenagers make that transition in such a critical life season, which is super passionate about. So
when we get comments from parents across the spectrum that do come in here and see the shop, they're like, a lot of kids are like, man, I wish my kids would have been able to be a part of something like this when they were growing up, because parents realize there's a void of this sort of learning in their kids' lives.
you don't learn work skills in the classroom. It's
No.
not something you read in a textbook, and it's just learned experientially. So the bike shop, we run a retail bike shop now that sells refurbished bikes and offers full service repair work. So it gives a really unique environment to learn those skills with adults coaching you and training you in the process. It's just really unique. We think there's just a real opportunity there, and just so empowering for a teenager, whatever career they end up in long term. But having that experience in a supportive learning environment just gives you the confidence to take that next step.
Yeah.
And helping someone think through, okay, what are your next steps? It's really critical.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to come over here one day and get on a bicycle and see if I can build one.
There you go.
Oh yeah, love it.
Sounds like it'll be fun.
I could have a 6-year-old teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. It's like, Mr. Todd, that's not right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying. Right? So as we get ready to close, one of the things about this podcast is, helping people to find their calling, their purpose. And so my question to you guys is, considering all the things that you guys are doing now, do you feel as though you're operating in your calling right now? And I know that can change, but
I feel like it's something you grow into and
Yeah.
and realize. I think a lot of people are waiting for, when you use the word like calling, especially in the church, people are waiting for the call, like, this is it, go do this, everything's going to work out fine. But I don't think that's the way it works for most people. I mean, I've known people that have been praying about their calling for 30 years now, and they're still calling, they're still waiting. They'll be dead before they get that phone call, I guess. But sometimes I think you just got to lean in things and opportunities present themselves.
Yeah.
And it's been a while, but a long time ago when I was early in my faith, I was wrestling with, do I do this, do I not do this, whatever. And I just realized I knew what no was. When I was doing something I shouldn't do, the no that God gives you is very clear. I've never questioned, like, is that really a no? Is that kind of it? Like, when it's no, you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
Like, it's like roads out, don't cross, flares. Like, you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, and then you decide to do it, and you realize, like, I should not have done that. Like, that was a clear no. But if I don't hear no, then it was always like, I'm just going to go. Because I feel like if I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, God's going to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And that's just kind of been the philosophy all along. It's like, when we're confused about direction or whatever, if I'm not hearing no, then I'm just going.
Yeah.
And it's worked out well so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. I think as I mature in my life, and well, I don't know if my wife will agree to that, maturing, but anyway.
She will not. No wife would. Like, they're better.
I'm better.
Work in progress.
I'm improving. Work in progress, right?
I'm not a miracle worker, but it's better.
It's better.
Took out the trash twice.
Slightly better, you know.
Took out trash again.
Yeah, I know. I get a valid point. So, but I was going to say that as we grow, I think the key thing about purpose and calling, like you said, is being in the position to be ready to move, right? And not so much sitting back and waiting. You see an opportunity, and it's something that's you can act upon. Like you guys saw opportunity, with your neighbor, with the kids in the neighborhood, you act upon it, and this is where you are today. And I would imagine God still has plans for you guys to do other things, but I think the key thing is you guys are willing to take that next step, and God kind of helped you along the way.
For sure, yeah.
And so that's.
I think also like you never start out with this,
Yeah.
Or sometimes you're like, you're an overnight success story. You're like, oh, it took 12 years, to look this fancy in this big space and big budget and that sort of thing. So many of it is just faithful with the small things, I mean, there was a long time when we were just in the bike shop every Saturday afternoon, just the two of us with a handful of volunteers who might swing in and help. And it doesn't feel fancy or glamorous then. It's not really that fancy and glamorous anymore. Now. It's not.
What do you describe it with those words?
But
my goodness.
I think I think the Lord just wants faithfulness in the small asks, and we've been blessed all throughout that. But anyway, it's very rare that you step into the calling and it's the dream job you always thought it would be.
Yeah.
It often starts very small and
And
grows
work.
into
And work.
yeah.
And being uncomfortable. So, for those that are listening, how can they find out more about what you guys are doing? How can they reach you?
Yeah. We're check out our website, beringsbikeworks.org, and we're on social at beringsbike. But love for people to get involved, learn more, come to one of our events and learn more that way. Swing by the shop. A lot of people probably are thinking I might have a bike in my garage right now that I could repurpose, pass those along to us. Those are always the lifeblood of the programs here. And we just love to meet people. We just love people to reach out, drop us an email, or swing by.
Come do a tour.
Yeah. We
Love
to do
tours.
that. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Me hanging with you. Actually, I'm here with you guys. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Taking up all their time and it's giving me hints to say, hurry up, we got to get back to work, right?
No, we appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing. I want to get down here one day and maybe help out one way or another. And give you guys a hand because you guys are doing some really cool things. So
Sounds good.
yeah, so guys, thank you guys for watching and being a part of God's Dreamers. If you like what we're doing, or if you know of anybody that's doing great things, reach out to us. Let us know what you're doing, and we'd love to share your story. So until next time, you guys take care. God bless.